Hey everyone, welcome to the Happy Flosser podcast. My name is Billy Lunt. I am your host, and I'm here to talk to you about all things dental hygiene to support you on your journey through the dental hygiene program. And today on this Helpisode, I have a great guest that I met at RDH Evolution, Kylie Bland, and she has a unique perspective to talk to you today. And I won't be a spoiler. I'm just going to go right in and introduce her and have her let you know how she became a hygienist and a little bit about her background story, and then what her future goals are in the profession. So, Kylie, welcome so much so glad to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Billy. Yes, I was so fortunate to be coming off of Under One Roof, which was my first experience. Met a lot of great people, and you always come back feeling really inspired, and it's just was a great experience. So that I will be doing that again. It was amazing. But yeah, I have been a hygienist since 2011, 2012. And I am from Libby, Montana, graduated from the dental hygiene program in Great Falls, Montana, the only program in the state, and currently still the only one in the state. And I jumped right into full-time private practice. And I did that in Missoula for about 7 years and decided to move back to Libby, Montana, which is my hometown, my husband's hometown. We have both sets of parents here and we have two young children. So it was a good jump to make, not only because our kids get to know their grandparents, but we thought we'd always come back home. We didn't know when it was going to work out, but it worked out a little quicker than we thought, which was great. And so when I moved back, I just jumped in part-time to clinical dental hygiene, but I wasn't sure, I wanted to maybe do something different. I wasn't quite sure what that was going to look like. And I had an opportunity come across just out of nowhere to come check out Smiles Across Montana, which is a nonprofit program that Crystal Spring is, and I'm sure many, many, many people know who that is, started with, at the time, someone, Kara Reck, who she graduated above me in hygiene school. And so she said, "Hey, we're here in Libby at a school. I'd love for you to come check out what we do." And at that point, I was still a mom to pretty young kids, and I just wasn't sure if I was ready to jump in. So I didn't when it first came around, and then it came around again. The opportunity came around again. I thought, okay, I need to go check this out. What is this all about? And so it is an amazing program that has grown so much since it started. Early 2018, I want to say. So I mean, it's really not that old still,
Yeah.
for it to be as big as it's kind of gotten. But I saw it. I met Crystal. I watched this gal that came up from Kalispell and was working in Libby area schools, and I thought, this is pretty amazing what they're doing. And so if for those who aren't familiar with mobile dentistry, it is just gotten the materials that we have now, the equipment they have now it's so advanced. It's pretty much in everything you would need in a dental office, but it packs up and it gets into somebody's rig and you can take it anywhere. And so I was amazed just by the quality of the equipment that they have now. And so I said, "Oh, like this is pretty cool. Like I think I could do this. This would be really nice to have kind of as another part-time job and see, what it's like to work in public health." I immediately fell in love with it. And I'm almost leaning to a place now where I'll eventually probably be full-time doing something like this, because it's so rewarding. And there's a huge need in my community, but there's also a huge need just across the state. And so I am in this northwest corner of our state, and then we have other hygienists that are spread out, and we, try to work them in the areas that they live. So there's not so much travel, but there definitely is some travel depending on, Montana's a big state, so depending on where we're at. So that's kind of how I just got started. I think sometimes it's who you know. And Kara knew me and reached out to me, and then I met Crystal, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. So I was really grateful the opportunity came around again. If it hadn't come around again, I don't know if I would be where I'm at. So
Yeah.
it's a great, great program.
Yeah, networking is so essential. I tell that to students that, as uncomfortable as it might feel when you're first,
Yes.
out there, it is who you know, and everyone has
Yep.
different things to bring to the profession.
Yep.
So when you network, when something like that comes available and people's names pop into your head, it's because of the networking you've done. So,
Yep. Yep. Very
so
true.
what made you fall in love when you said, I fell in love with it? What did you
Yeah.
specifically fall in love with?
I think it was the whole concept of the fact that these kids they're coming into from their classes, they're coming into this room, they're getting preventative dental services, they're not missing out on a lot of school. The parent or guardian doesn't have to come and miss work to get them out for these appointments. And we are providing quality care just as they would get in an office. So the fact that we could do all that in the middle of a school day, see a range of maybe 16 to 28 plus kids, depending on the age group that we're in. It's remarkable to me that we could do that. And I thought this is not just, and it isn't just preventative. We clean their teeth and put fluoride on and send them on their way. It was also we see an abscess. And now we understand why that kid is complaining about a tooth that's hurting in the middle of class. We can get that child referred and help the parent get them to the right place. Maybe they have a really small start of a cavity and we have the means to put SDF on that spot. And for those who don't know SDF, silver diamine fluoride, it arrests the cavity. It stops it from getting bigger. It kind of gives parents some time to not have to go right in and treat that until they are able to. Sometimes if they're small enough, they're arrested enough for the life of that tooth, and then that baby tooth might fall out and they didn't have to have any big invasive treatment done. So the fact that we could do all that in a school day and have communication with the teachers and the parents and the school nurse and get kids referred out as they need to, I think that was the number one thing that really I just thought this is a big deal. It's not just putting fluoride on their teeth and doing a quick screening and making sure everything looks okay. And the goal of our program, and I think it will only grow from what it is now, is that we kind of want to do it all. I mean, we want to be, we're checking blood pressure and we're checking all ages, checking blood pressure. We're checking their oxygen, blood level oxygen. We're checking oral cancer screenings on all the kids. We're looking at their airway. We're looking at the size of their tonsils. We're looking at if there's tongue ties involved. We are seeing kids age 3 and up. And it isn't just, as we hope is in all hygiene, anywhere you're practicing, that we're doing more than just what cleaning teeth, what sometimes I think people think we do so much more. And it's really cool that we can do that at a young age, follow them all through school. And some of these kids, I have followed them up into different grades and have been able to follow through with them when they've had an issue or whatnot. So I think it's been really cool to be a part of it in my community that I grew up in. Because, I know a lot of the parents and I know a lot of the teachers, they might have taught me. So it's just kind of cool to be a part of this, but also be doing it in the community that I grew up in. So that's a long answer to that question, but that's why I left it right away.
Oh my
Could talk
God. Well,
forever about it.
thank you for kind of folding in all the different parts of the assessment that are so essential, especially those early interventions that we can sometimes intervene early, get the kiddos to the right places, to the right
Yep.
people to really, change the trajectory of some of their health issues that might show up that might not have been taken care of or seen or even noticed if they hadn't seen you. So that is just fantastic. I just
Pretty
love
cool.
hearing all the stuff that different hygienists are doing.
Yeah.
So with that, what are some of the challenges that you faced in doing this mobile clinic and working with all these kids?
Yeah. I would say that the biggest challenge I think is getting it from needing treatment and getting that child seen. I think that's the hardest place, because we might be dealing with some children who have parents that are in and out of the home, or kids that are in and out of different homes, or with grandparents for a time being, depending on what their their home is like. There's just a full gamut of where these kids are coming from. And so getting a hold of a parent sometimes is really challenging, stressing how important it is that they get in sooner than later. It is sometimes hard if the communication isn't there or we're not able to get through to somebody. If we could, we would drive these kids to a dentist ourselves and get them treated. We can't do that. Our hope is that the program will grow enough that we can have these, as we've seen a lot of other hygienists and met a few at Under One Roof that have these trailers that they are literally able to drive anywhere. And if we could have a dentist that could be on site to do some of this restorative work that maybe isn't so invasive, some of that could get done right then and there, like their preventative treatment, which would be a goal of ours for sure. But I'd say that would be the biggest challenge, is just if there's something that really needs attention, we really try to follow up and make sure it happens. And sometimes it doesn't. The nice thing is we go into these schools every 3 months. So we have such a continuing care with these kids that we see it again. Maybe it's the same. Maybe we need to put more SDF on it. Maybe the abscess is still there and we really need to push treatment. Maybe we need to get the nurse involved to really help us get this kiddo seen. So at least we know that we're going to be back, and odds are we're going to be able to look at this area or whatever we're concerned about again. But it is a challenge to just, that communication is probably the biggest thing. I don't know if it'll ever get better 100%. I think it's kind of everywhere. All the other hygienists across the state have a struggle with that wherever they're working. But we keep trying, and the schools are so helpful, trying to get us the right contact information for them and really trying to have our back. And so I hope that can only improve, but we're going to have that challenge, I think, as long as we have this type of program. But the good thing is we're seeing these kids on a really routine basis, and we might be the only ones, and probably are the only ones, seeing a lot of these kids. They're not getting taken anywhere else. So at least we're, as you said, checking these other things that are so important if nobody else is really looking, these oral cancer screenings and whatnot. So that's a big challenge. I would say it's the biggest one, because usually things run pretty smooth, but it's just getting that next step, getting the treatment taken care of.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a big one too. That one might keep you up at night sometimes,
A
depending
little
on the
bit.
story. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, what amazing things you guys are doing out there though. I'm just so I'm so impressed by it and inspired, really. Um,
Mm.
so with that being said, looking at the benefits of everything you're doing and the challenges along the way, there's always something that's a surprise. So what is something that has surprised you as you've gone down this road?
I think that maybe as hygienists, we all know how important it is to make sure kids have a good dental experience. I shouldn't just say kids, adults too. But I feel, and I'm sure a lot of people can agree with me, that adults that we might see in clinical hygiene, if they're anxious, they probably had a poor experience in their childhood. They had something kind of traumatic happen that made them fear dentistry. And so it carried with them their whole adult life. And I feel like a lot of adults that I see that have not come into a dental office for maybe 10 plus years is because they had such a poor experience. So I've kind of realized through this that if we can create this really fun environment, and from that young age or whenever they start, kind of meet them where they're at. If we see a kid for the first time and they're 10, or we start seeing a kid when they're 3, I feel like we can really introduce the fact that that going to the dentist is fun, and we're not scary, and we meet them where they're at. We don't force stuff on them. We kind of take a slower approach, and odds are the next couple times we see that child, if they were nervous the first time, they're letting us do all the things the next time. And I was surprised by how important that is, because if these kids that we see have a good experience with us and at the school and watching their peers and seeing that it's not scary, my friends in the chair, and they're fine, then they're going to hopefully go into their whole adult life valuing dental care and their oral health, and then they're just not going to be afraid. And I didn't realize getting into this profession how afraid people are of dentistry, and there's a reason for it. There's a legit reason for it. But I feel like if we can, intervene at a young age and make it fun and show them how valuable it is to take care of our teeth, then maybe they won't get to that place where they miss years out of going to the dentist. So that surprised me. It surprised me, and I don't think I realized it until I got into public health.
Yeah, and you're so right. And what's awesome at the same time, kind of in a parallel way, we have so many more preventive opportunities. And so if
Mhm.
you're seeing these kids as routine as you're discussing, there's no reason for them to have any kind of traumatic
Mhm.
experience. And if you're very intentional with how you're approaching them, having conversation with them, educating them, using those motivational interviewing strategies with them, and really
Yeah,
building the knowledge base with them, my goodness, that really goes such a long way at having long-term good oral health habits, because
yeah,
anxiety and fear is a
big
huge
deal.
barrier for people.
It
Oh,
really is. It
yeah.
really is. And I think dentistry's got to be up there as one of the biggest in general. I think doctoring in general can be a really anxious thing for people, but I feel like dentistry is just kind of in its own little, yeah, people just have a lot of fear that is surrounded by it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I am excited, and we feel so, what's the word? I guess just relieved when we see a child that is terrified at first, and then the next two times we see them, we're doing all the things, and they're just a totally different child in the chair, and the parents are like, I can't believe they let you do all that, just
No.
they just cannot believe that and I said, well, we just, that comes from just not, it's kind of letting them know they're in control a little
Yeah.
bit too. They're in
Yeah.
control if they don't have to do everything we're asking them to do. If they let us talk to them about it and at least give us a space to educate on what we do, and then maybe the next time they'll let us do more. And I would say 99% of the time they do.
Yeah.
So really cool.
Yeah, that's that trust building that you're taking the time to do, and really
Yep.
appreciating where that kid is and what they're
Yep.
allowing, and you're not pushing, and you're just educating and moving forward at wherever they're at. And that's really how you make the progress. And good for you
Yep.
guys for doing that. That's
Yes.
amazing, because kids
It's so fun.
kids are a niche, it's not
Yeah.
everybody is good with kids, and that's
Yeah.
really the beginning of the story.
Yeah, it really is. And it's been fun when we see these teenagers too that really haven't been to the dentist in their childhood, and kind of again meeting them where they're at. They may not know a lot of things we think they should know, because maybe they didn't grow up in a home that made it important. And so if we can show them that it's important, and they can now take the initiative for their own health,
Yeah.
that's been really a big surprise too, is being able to, how do we like, relate to these teenagers, because that's already kind of a hard age in general. They're going through a lot,
Yeah.
and they're really starting to care about maybe what their smile looks like and whatnot. So that has been a really fun age group, because I don't know that I felt like I saw a lot of teenagers through the years in my private practice like I am now, and so I've really enjoyed working with them too, because that's kind of starting over sometimes with them. They've never been told that we should floss. They don't understand the importance of brushing for 2 minutes. They, just the diet, the relationship with sugar in their diet. They don't know all that sometimes. And so it's good to educate just on those things so that they can make these small changes, since they might be kind of the only ones that are going to do it. There's no one at home telling them to.
Yeah.
So,
And there's so much power and emotional connection to your smile when you become a teenager, because there's kids that maybe
oh yeah.
shame about the appearance or the look of their smile or how their teeth are, and if they have
Yeah.
any kind of malpositioning or are not perfect, right? And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that really kind of magnifies in those teenage years, and that's stuff that we have to help them navigate as a hygienist. And because that tells a lot. If you're not a
Mhm.
person who smiles because of some kind of
Oh, yeah.
thought that you're having in your head. People who don't smile aren't as happy, right? I'm sure there's lots
Right.
of research out there for that.
Right. Right.
That's what I also love about the teenagers is that you can kind of bring them into the conversation and really figure out what it is. Why are they not taking care of it? Or why are they super motivated to take care of it, all of a
Right.
sudden and giving
Yep.
them the tools. Ah, I love
Yep.
that. I love that you're accessing all of these places. And right to the beginning of the podcast, when you said that you're going in, the parents aren't having to drive the kids, you're going
Mhm.
into the school, they're not missing work, the kids aren't
Yep.
missing much class time, and you're really
Yep.
folding it into the life that they're already living and they're
Yep.
able to be seen. Oh, I just love
Yeah, it's a pretty cool part of it. It really is. And you know, we live in a place that's small. And so a lot of times kids are going to Kalispell sometimes to see a dentist. Kalispell is 90 miles from Libby.
it.
90 miles, that's where our Costco is. That's where, so we're, that's a place that a lot of people have to literally take a day off to make an appointment if that's where they're going. And that's hard to do. And if you have multiple children and you're having to do that multiple times, that's probably the biggest thing we get from parents is thank you for doing this preventative stuff here so that I don't have to every 6 months or how often take time off work to take them. It's a big deal. And they're not missing as much school, which we all know how important it is to not miss a lot of school. And I know as a kid, I didn't like missing school and I didn't like having to play catch up and miss out on something. And so now, they might miss out on 40 minutes of their day and not a whole day. So
Yeah,
it's a big deal.
yeah, you're breaking down all the barriers. So
Yeah, very cool.
when did you graduate? You said that at the beginning. Was it
I
2000?
did. I graduated in 2011 out of Great Falls. Yep. Yep. 2011. So yeah.
What would you tell a new graduate who's just entering the workforce, and maybe has some preconceived notions already about public health, about
Yeah.
working with kids, about mobile dentistry? What would you share with them?
Yeah. I think it's real simple. Looking back, I guess I just had it. I boxed myself in and said, oh, I'm going to do clinical hygiene. That's what I'm going to do, because I knew I had some friends that were going to maybe go on and teach, and they knew they wanted to teach at some point, and they had these other plans. And I thought, well, I'm going to be a clinical hygienist. That's what I'm going to do. And I am so happy that I did that, and it was a great experience. But I think I didn't allow myself to think about all the other opportunities there are. And so I would definitely tell a young graduate, a young dental hygienist that you explore them. So don't, if an opportunity comes up or you just want to see what it's like or observe somebody that's doing it or ask the questions and just see if it's something that would fit you. You don't have to box yourself in as I'm just going to work, full-time in clinical hygiene. And if I've learned anything over the time that I've been a hygienist, you really do have to start thinking about your body and how hard this profession is on our body. And if we want to continue to work a long time, we have to be careful of that and start early and being mindful of our posture and using all the tools that are out there now for hygienists to work it just better for their neck, better for their back. And I think what I've enjoyed about public health, other than all the things I've mentioned too, is it's a little bit different on my body. You're dealing with kids. They're shorter appointments typically. It might be more physical in the sense that we're having to unload and load our equipment, but the work itself during the day is a little bit lighter than maybe doing scaling and root planing, all day or, seeing adults all day. So I really like that it gives my body kind of a break in a different way too. And I'm really glad I didn't continue just thinking, well, this is all I'm going to do. This is all I'm going to do. Because there's so many different things clearly under one roof shows you how much there is that we could be doing in this profession and different options. And you can do it all. You can do a little clinical and you can explore different things, but to just not, I wrote public health off for the first time. It came to me and I don't know why, I don't even really know if I have a good reason, but the fact that it came back around and I gave it a chance, I'm really grateful. So I would just tell, early hygienists to make sure they look at all the options and don't be afraid to ask questions and see if it's something that you'd want to do. And I feel like we just have so many great resources now. And like you said, there's so many ways we can network with people and get with somebody that knows something, about something you might want to be doing. So that's probably the best advice I have.
That is really fantastic advice. And I like how you brought that full circle of why do we box ourselves in? And I think because that's how we're trained in school. Like we're
Yeah.
trained to go into clinical hygiene. And we
Yeah.
have some public health projects and we
Yeah.
probably do a community rotation under the guidance of faculty, but to
Yeah.
actually my goal is to have a clear pathway so that students actually can see what that looks like. They can say,
Yes.
I'm going to do clinical or in this, and then your friend says, well, I'm going to do public health. And they both have an equal understanding of what the steps
Yep.
are. Because
Exactly.
I feel like public health isn't as clearly defined when you're
Right.
in school as it's like,
I
okay,
think you're right.
you know, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of amazing things happening in public health. And I think if we can be intentional as educators to say, okay, how can we make a clearly defined path for the students that desire this? And what does that look
Mhm.
like for them? And because I wonder how many students would go directly into public health if they knew that that clear path was made for them. I'm just
It's a
curious.
really good question. It's a really good question. And I don't, out of my group that graduated, I don't know if I know that one did right off the bat. And so that's a really good question. And maybe that just maybe wakes up all the hygiene programs as well, that maybe we do need to spend a little extra time on this, or maybe we just need to make sure we, like you said, lay out the path for them so they can dive into it if they want to.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Like
it's
our
an
graduates.
amazing thing.
Yeah, if they know, okay, here's what our laws and rules are, here's what our scope of
Yeah.
practice says we can do, and here's what my educator said. Upon graduation, if you do this, this, and this, these are your other career pathways. I think that's something that could be easily created for students to say, yeah, that's definitely something I'm
Mhm.
interested in doing. And then you're going to have those hygienists who say, no, I definitely want to go into clinical
Yeah.
and maybe build some, build their skills or whatever. I don't know. I don't really know what makes somebody decide to do one thing versus another,
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. And I think it makes you look back when you're in school. And I think, as we all know, how intense dental hygiene programs are, and that's the nature of it. And we are prepared. We go in knowing that. But I think for me, I think it was just, I'm going to get through this, and then I'm going to get through this, and then I'll get through this. And then, and I don't even know if I allowed myself to think about, a lot. I didn't ever really see myself as a teacher. So I kind of just checked that. I don't think I'm going to go that route. But yeah, I think you're just overwhelmed, I think. And you're so anxious to get through it.
Yes.
And then you maybe don't think about what it looks like afterwards, or what kind of practice, if you're going to work clinical, what kind of practice do you want to work in? There's so many different places you could go, and depending on the state, so many different situations. So yeah, I just would hope that graduates get out and just don't box themselves in, just be open to something different, even if you're not sure you're going to like it or that you will like it. Because I would have never known how much I was going to love it until I witnessed it and then actually was able to do it full
Mm.
circle.
We're such
Yeah.
hygienists. We want to know the end of the story
Yeah.
before we read a
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. It's definitely a personality thing, I think, for
Yeah.
sure.
So to tell our students, well, let's just see how it
Yeah.
works out. They're just,
Yeah.
no, I want the
I can't
answer.
do that. Yes. That's very true. That's how I felt I was. I'm like, I can't think of anything else right now.
Me
I got to
too.
get through boards and I got to get through all this before I can think about what's next. But
Me too. I
yeah,
remember the struggle. I remember it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And you're teaching, right? So
Yes.
you really can see it full circle. You went through it and then you're teaching it, and you can probably see, oh, I've been there. I know.
And no matter how many years go by, you still remember how dental hygiene school
You
was.
really
And
do. You
it
really do.
never leaves you. It's just one of the
Never.
most successful accomplishments you can do. It's just so hard and it
It is.
challenges you. in
Mm-hmm.
ways you never knew. You just don't know
Mm-hmm.
till you do it. And nobody
Right.
really knows except hygienists. And I think that's what makes Under One Roof so great when you go there. It's like these are
Yes.
your people and they all get
Yes.
you without any explanation, you know. So
Yes. It's so true.
in
Yes.
in that group at Evolution, you had all these different people with all these different stories and all these different paths and still that common bond of what we all went through together and our baseline and that personality
Yes.
type that just kind of bonds you in a way.
Yes.
It's really indescribable, so
It really is. It really is. And I will go to more of them, and I would encourage anybody that I can talk to that you need to attend.
yeah,
You really do. It's you gain so much from it.
yeah. I love your future goal of being just fully in public health and um I love the you hope to travel with your family so your kids can see different parts of the world and being a hygienist in different places. I
Yeah.
spoke with some people at Under One Roof who had just traveled to other places and really
Mm.
promoting dental hygiene and
Yeah.
I guess American hygienists are pretty amazing.
Yes, that's what I hear. That's what I hear. And I think it's just cool to embrace yourself sometimes into a culture that, just is different than ours. And they might do things differently,
Yeah.
but the value or we all deserve. And that's kind of the mission of Smiles Across Montana too. We're all deserving of good care and dental care. Everybody is, whether they have access to it, whether they don't, whether they're insured or not. And so the mission of this program, and I'm sure so many that are across, the world, is to just make sure that everybody is getting the care that they deserve.
Yeah.
Not there's kids and people from all different backgrounds, and they should be able to have good access to care. And that's why Crystal, who started Smiles Across Montana, that's why she saw a need.
Yep.
And, the go-getter that she is, she said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to create this mobile dental program so that people have access to care. And it's not an easy thing to do.
Yep.
I don't even know the first thing of it. I know she's had many, 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 many challenges along the way, but for her to still be really successful and for us to be where we are and have grown, it's a testament to who she is, but also just people who, see a need and they do something about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Pretty
That is
cool.
awesome. And if our conversation sparks the desire, interest, or the heart pulls on the heart of any student out there, then you and I have spent our time well.
That's true. Very true. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was so nice to talk with you today, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
You bet. Thank you for having me.
Yep. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.